Well, basically, yeah, I've been in Hamilton for 5 years, 4 seasons, and a COVID year. Um, Things were going well there, but we've had some rough moments too. And then a new owner come in and took over controlling interest. And after conversations with him, and we just both decided we were going to just go our separate ways. And it was good. It was nothing major, no issues. And I'm happy for them. And I know I'm on the phone with Larry Wood quite a bit,
Yeah.
my assistant GM there, who's still in Hamilton, of course. So basically what happened is I wasn't sure what I was going to do. There was a few other opportunities and things I was kicking a can at, and then I was kind of contacted by members of the league. I won't say exactly who, but it was more than one. About the possibilities of Toronto. Yeah,
Yep.
as we all know, Damon and Roger had resigned their positions in Toronto in early January, I think.
Yep.
And things weren't moving forward, or and the league wasn't really sure what was going on, and I think Toronto was still up in the air of what was going on, and players were, of course, confused, and so yeah, basically asked me to reach out to Ty Crawford, who is running Jack's estate, and Ty's been involved with the Toronto Maple Leaf baseball team since I know at least 2007, 2008, when
Yep.
years ago. I know he's been, if not longer. So I reached out to Ty, and that's what got the ball kind of started.
Well, that's awesome, and I'm glad you landed on your feet here. And I think the Maple Leafs are definitely one of these teams that they've been bridesmaids 2 years in a row now, and it's just as far
Mhm.
as how can they get over that final last hurdle here as a squad. And I know you've been busy re-signing some guys. I think you've actually you signed Greg Carrington this week.
Yep.
As far as that, so I guess the first cog in the wheel as everything gets going back again. How are you making out with other guys? Is there progress
Yeah,
in the other fronts?
yeah. There's progress. There's a lot of questions that had to be asked, and the players had a lot of questions, and of where we were. Like Tops ran this team for a long, long time,
Oh, he has, yes.
um, and so there was questions, and I had questions. Players had questions. Ty had questions. So eh, the process has only been what, 9 days
Yeah, 9 days, something like that.
since,
It's like,
if not, you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like it has not been long. So I had to wrap my head around a lot of things. And as a process, I do believe the core players are starting to get excited, so which is a good thing. And I've talked to many of the players that are on the current roster. I've talked to many players that aren't on the current roster to see engage if coming to
yeah.
Toronto is something they want to do. So the process is ongoing. But let's be honest, in typical Toronto Maple Leaf fashion, they normally don't release their signings until
Yeah,
what,
usually,
the
like,
the
the
day
big joke
before
was
the
was
game is.
always if you go to Jack's,
Yeah.
forum in May, you'd find out he was on the roster, pretty much, that was it.
Right, right. So, I don't want to totally change things.
No.
We got to give a little bit of intrigue going on here, but I get it. Yeah, the system was they sat on the registration forms and the signings, and we are planning on announcing our signings as we go forward.
Yeah.
Um, so the kind of change that practice, but it has been a process. I'm sure you're going to start seeing some more names here. We're getting verbal commitments from a lot of guys, so
That's awesome.
that's the first step.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think that's gonna probably ease the worries of a lot of the fan base, especially the guys down
Yeah,
the third base line for sure, the hecklers, as I call
yeah.
them.
Let's be honest here. Let's
Yeah.
be, let's give the players a little bit of uh, you know justice here. I guess
Yeah.
there's no coach, there was no GM as of
Well,
a
February
couple
1st
weeks
rolled
ago.
around. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, you know what I mean? Like I think it's fair if I was a player to say, hey, what's going on here? What's the
Yeah.
direction? Where are we going? What is my future? What's the Toronto Maple Leafs future? Those are valid. Now we're answering them though. And I'm sure there's you know, pitchers and catchers are just reporting like today, right?
Well,
So
exactly, yeah. Heck,
it is
Well and
early
Jackfish
for a
posted a
lot
picture
of.
of their field today, and it's got snow on it again, so it's kinda depressing. It's here at
Yeah.
the same time, we gotta remind yourself you're in February here, so
Yeah. So, the players are figuring out, they're just starting to think about baseball.
Mhm.
And this is a veteran team. These guys know
Oh,
what
yeah.
it takes to get ready. I have no apprehensions about that. These guys
Yep.
know what it takes to play in the IBL. They know what it takes to be ready, and they understand um, what it looks like in May and what it looks like in August
Oh,
is two
exactly.
different animals as
Especially when it's a
well.
42 game season now, and it's a
Yeah,
long grind. It's a
yeah,
long grind that happens in this very short time period too. So it's just like, yeah, you got to stay. You don't want to peak too early. You don't want to be peaking in June, early
mhm,
July when you got to really peak end of August and try to push through those final few weeks of the
yeah,
season and the postseason.
right. 100%. So our next step is to find a manager. So that's
Yep.
the biggest. Our imports are basically completed. We're in the process of finishing up on everything there.
Awesome,
So
man.
that will be good news. There's still some logistics to go through, but
Yeah.
I think that's another reason why Ty brought me in.
I
I've
think your
done this
biggest
before.
asset, everything I've ever said about you, your biggest asset is you're probably the best recruiter I know. As far
Oh,
as
no,
if you,
appreciate it.
no, just because if anybody was ever going to go, like whenever when I was working with the Silver Creeks and everything else in this area, it's like, well, have you talked to Jeff yet at Brock? If you want to stay in Canada, have you talked to Jeff at Brock? As much as I'm a golf guy and I'd love to see the Griffins do well, it's like, well, if you want to play baseball, you want to go to the best program. Brock was by bar none when you were running things. That was the best program in Canada.
I'm very proud of the Brock University program, and I'm very proud of what our players accomplished there, and what the program accomplished there. And
Yep.
it continues to evolve and move forward. So I know now I'm involved at Laurier, and I'm really enjoying my time there. But it's a very different role for me.
Yeah.
I get to sit on the bucket and be a good cop, and
That's always
for
fun.
20 years at Brock, I never got to be good cop. Right?
Nope, you're always the bad cop, and
Yeah, it's it was difficult, and I think the IBL softened me over the years with that,
yeah,
just because you can't coach IBL like you coach college, of course,
no,
right?
you can't.
And I think it took me a while to figure that out and learn that, and then I actually brought those things back to Brock, and I was probably a much softer, gentler soul in my late years, and
Yeah.
really enjoyed getting to know my players more.
Mhm.
I wish I would have known that then, but then again, that's what growing is all about, right?
Oh, exactly. So, how is the hunt for the next coach going in Toronto? Have you got any leads yet, or is it just
It just got posted yesterday, so it's early. I did get at least one candidate reach out to me who I really like. It's a very
nice?
strong candidate. Um, but the process, we got to give it a little bit of time here to get word out and find out who might be interested in doing this.
Yep.
And then another change is I'm going to actually reach out to the players and
See,
get some
get some
input
input,
from them.
which is
This is a
probably not a
very
bad thing.
veteran team.
Well,
No, it's a
especially when,
very veteran team, right?
oh no,
And
especially
um, you know, I just want them involved in the process. It doesn't mean that they're going to make the decision, but I
no,
want
but
them involved in the
you want some
process.
feedback, you want some input in this. Hey, I've
Hundred
worked,
percent.
I've coached this guy's coached me before, or something like that, or hey, I've heard good things
Yep.
about this guy. Those do have some merits as far as this stuff goes, especially because it's still technically, as much as everybody says it's not a working man's league, it is. As far as a lot of guys are
Right.
doing jobs, we got Jonathan Salazzo working the railroads till God knows what. He goes to bed, he goes into work at 11 o'clock at night, gets
Yep.
off at 6 or something. So that's the conductor, and he's like one of your stars. You got Justin Mara on the roster, hopefully,
Yep.
and you see as far as that former Chicago Cub farmhand, and just really he's been really a powerhouse in the league. You got Jordan Castaldo hopefully coming back, but again, hard to say. You hear things, and it's just like it's hard to say who's coming back, and I don't want to force your hand or tip your hat here
Yeah.
anyway. So we'll keep it
Well,
lit.
we hope to have them back, and barring any goofiness,
Yeah,
then yeah, we you know we anticipate that they'll be back in Maple Leaf organization and playing for another season. This is a team that's gone to the final 2 years in a row, right to Game 6 and
yeah,
the ninth inning, Game 7s. This team's close. This team
yeah.
is, and I think that's at the end of the day, this team is close today. Never mind who I bring in and everything else. Um, these guys are close. They really talking with them. I didn't realize how tight they are.
No, exactly.
There's a very strong clubhouse. There's some very strong leadership in that clubhouse,
Hmm.
and I anticipate after some questions get answered and stuff like that's going to prevail. These guys want to win for Toronto. They want to win
Hmm.
for the guys and girls that sit along that that beautiful hill,
Yep.
and root them on along with themselves and the
Yeah.
guys that they've gone to war with, and they spent a lot of years together. And this is really
Oh yeah.
close.
Oh, no
And I
question
don't think
there.
anyone wants to blow it up, and no one wants to be the person with the to kind of see if the grass is greener on the other
Yeah.
side. We've seen that in the league.
We have. We have.
I know I'm rambling here, but we've seen that in the
Oh.
league. Guys think it's going to be greener on the other pass on the
And
other
then I go there
side,
and it's
and
like, oh man, I liked it
it,
better where it was.
yeah, it's not always the case,
Yep.
especially if you're chasing.
Yep.
So hopefully, we get them all back. They're all great guys, and the more time I talk to them, the even more respect I get for them. I do believe I'm at 18 or 19 of the 24 guys from last year's roster that I've
Roster
actually
too.
hooked up with. So we're
Nice.
getting there.
Nice. Nice.
I ramble.
Anyth-
Sorry.
No, no, it's quite all right. It's quite all right. It's always good to have you, actually get you on the phone or whatever else, and just I don't know, shoot the breeze a little bit too, because I know we've talked for many, many years behind the scenes and everything else. We both, as much as I like to hate to say it, some days we're lifers in this
Yeah,
league.
we
So
are. I think I qualify now as an IBL lifer.
I think you've definitely crossed
If
the
I
pins
if I
and dotted the T's and
if I
everything
had
else.
managed if I had managed to collect all the hats, I'd have a pretty
You quite have
great
quite the
collection.
collection, yeah. So if you were just, I don't know, if you had a player out there, what would you be your sales pitch to come to Toronto? I guess that's what I want to leave guys and
Well,
gals with out there.
history.
Yeah.
Like, history. It's the pits. It's downtown Toronto open ballpark. What can be, you know, uh, I know what Babe Ruth played there. Like
Exactly. Yeah. It's
it's
like,
history.
what else can you tell them though? It's just like, yeah.
Between Paul Spajerics and Robbie Butler and Richie Butler and Danny Gibbons, and and that's my era of
Yeah.
guys that it goes further than that. It goes to Bill Bykowski, Ricky Johnson. Like there are some guys, you know, um, that have played here for numerous years, and I apologize for all the guys I'm missing, but um, the history of that is amazing. Now with
Yeah.
Jack Dominico is, and that's another reason too. I took Jack Dominico. I absolutely adored that man.
Oh, so do I.
He
As much as
was
he drove me up the
so
wall
good to
sometimes,
me
but
when
I just loved working with him.
yeah, he was so good to me in 1999 when I first got to the IBL, and then when I came back,
Hmm.
he was always very supportive. And his phone calls, I used to get
Yep.
one a year, and I didn't matter what I was doing, I took that phone call.
Yep. Oh, exactly.
And I don't want the team to fold. No one wants the team to. We all understand Jack has passed away, and
Yep.
there's some things with the Toronto Maple Leaf organization that need to be dealt with. They can't just stay where they are forever.
Yep.
But
Exactly.
that takes time, and I want to give Ty Crawford the time um, for Jack's estate and Jack's
Hmm.
legacy to continue on, and that's going to take some time. So I'm here to help that
Yep.
and move it forward, and go that way. And again, I want to say too, like the work that Damon Topley has done over the years can't be understated.
Oh,
This
exactly.
man has done everything for this program for many, many years. So um, he's left us in good shape.
Yep.
We just got to figure some stuff out. But Damon Topley deserves to be able to retire and walk away from
Oh, no question.
playing and managing, and no questions asked. The
Nope.
guy has done more than enough
He's an
over
absolute
the
legend
years.
in this league, and as far as what
Yes,
his legacy in this league is just going to be right up there with Jack's. As far as when you look at this organization, the
yeah,
first things you either came to mind when you thought about the Toronto Maple Leafs were, hey, Jack and Damon. Those were the first two things, and then of course there was Jack's lovely wife, Lynn, that would come in there. And it's like, yeah, Lynn was a sweetheart. She was like always put things, if Jack drove you nuts, Lynn would take care and soften the blows pretty fast.
yeah, yeah. He was a good man. He was
He was,
a pillar. He's a good man.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Jeff. I know you took time out of your work day at work, and sorry for bugging you at work, but
Okay.
do appreciate it. And we're going to get to hopefully see you very shortly, as the season's not too far away. But May will be just around the corner, and we'll see you
Yeah,
on the field.
it'll
And best
be
of
there.
luck. Yeah, and best of luck to you and the Leafs this summer.
Thanks, Neil. Appreciate it. Stay
No
well.
problem.